I'll go ahead and get started. I don't have an intro slide, but just a little bit about me. My name's Molly Pittman. I'm the Vice President of Marketing at digitalmarketer.com. So we're a marketing education company. We produce certifications about digital marketing. So the 8 core disciplines, anything from email marketing, customer value optimization, paid traffic. So my specialty is buying traffic. I'm a media buyer. So I bought a little over $5 million in Facebook ads. We also run traffic on Twitter, Google, kind of your big boys. But when it comes to creating traffic campaigns or even marketing campaigns in general, okay, cool. We realized that it doesn't really matter about the buttons you press inside of the Facebook platform or how you're bidding inside of AdWords. If you don't get the pesky marketing part right, your campaigns will fail. So this is the process that we use at Digital Marketer. We also have around 30 sister companies and markets like the pet market, DIY, survival. We own a water filtration plant. So this really works in any type of business. And this is the system that we use to create any of our paid traffic campaigns. Again, this can work outside of traffic. So even if you're not buying Facebook ads, this could work to simply sit down with your team and say, okay guys, what does a marketing campaign for our business look like? So really the end benefit here, because that's what marketing is about, I'm going to show you how to 20x your marketing campaign production and success rate. Because a lot of people create a traffic or a marketing campaign and they're really running in a silo. They're speaking to one person and using one message to try to sell their product or service. And you just aren't giving yourself a shot to succeed. So just a little backstory on where this process came from. We call it the ad grid. It was something that I was doing that I didn't even realize I was doing. I'm sure a lot of you guys could think of something that you do that you haven't necessarily SOP'd, right? Something that's more creative, that's more strategic. So I was sitting down with our editorial director, Russ Henneberry, and we were planning out a new ad campaign for an offer we were rolling out. And I realized that there was actually a theory and a system behind how we were planning out the marketing for this campaign. So just to give you a little backstory, it started on a whiteboard, which is pretty funny. So here's the basis of the grid that I'm going to use throughout this 7-step process. And I'll give you download links and everything here in a bit, so don't worry about drawing it out. The basic premise is that on the top of the grid, on the x-axis, you're going to have your avatars. So if you think about your product, your service, whatever you're selling, your avatars are the different customer profiles. So who are different, what are the different avatars, the different people that would be interested in ultimately buying my product or service? On the y-axis, you have your hooks. So what marketing message are you using to sell your product or service? Do you just have one hook? Do you have 10? How do those hooks relate to the different avatars that you're ultimately selling your product to? So I'm going to use this as an example throughout the presentation. At Digital Marketer, we have what we call lead magnets. So they're PDF downloads, similar to ebooks. Sometimes they're templates. But we use these lead magnets to exchange value for someone's email address, phone number, their contact information. This is the first touch that we have with a prospect. So this lead magnet is a 10-minute social media audit. So you could download the lead magnet and you could essentially audit all of your social profiles to ensure that your social media strategy is actually generating sales for your business, protecting your brand, that you're giving good customer service through your social media strategy. So I'm going to use this as an example throughout the presentation so that you can see how we use the ad grid to inevitably sell this lead magnet, right? So step one, again, 7-step process. So you have a product or service, you have an offer, you have something that you want to buy traffic to, or that you want to promote in some way. What is, you're sitting here, you have this thing, now what do I do next, right? And the first step is to identify your avatars. Now, this isn't always necessarily your business avatars, right? Most of you probably have ideas of different avatars for your business as a whole. This should definitely be specific to whatever offer you're running traffic to, whatever you're promoting at the time. So really think specifically about this one thing that you're wanting to promote. So we sit down as a team, we have this lead magnet, we have this product we want to sell, and it starts with a simple conversation. Who would be interested in this offer, right? And this takes a lot of creativity. You really have to get into the mind of your different avatars and why they would be interested in this particular thing. So here are some examples for the 10-minute social media audit. So avatars that would be interested in downloading this PDF would be social media managers, right? So people that work for a company, an employee. The next would be their boss, right? So maybe a digital marketing manager, a CMO, a CEO, whoever this person reports to. Another avatar could be an agency owner, so someone that does social media as a service for clients. And then the last that we came up with was more of your solo entrepreneur, so someone that started a business that's really doing this on their own. So you can see how all of these people have invested interest in this offer, but they're in different positions and they're interested for different reasons. So we simply place the avatars on top of the grid here. And I'll also share with you guys a Google Doc, a spreadsheet that we have so that you can implement this in your business and fill out your avatars and all of the information. So step 2 is to identify the hooks. And this is one of the most important parts because this is really where marketing comes into play. If you can't tell them why they should buy or take you up on your offer, then your campaign is definitely not going to work. So here are some ideas on how to create marketing hooks. Again, no matter what you're selling, the first is what we call the have hook. So what are they going to have after they do whatever you're telling them to do that they didn't have before? Really simple, right? What are they going to have after that they didn't have before? The next is feel. How are they going to feel afterwards? How are they going to feel better afterwards than they did before? Maybe they were frustrated, maybe they were disorganized, and then they started using Evernote, and now they're organized and they're happy and they feel like they're in control. So really getting inside the feelings of your prospects. The next is average day. This is always a great hook to use. How are you going to better the average day of this prospect, right? Maybe you're selling a razor that saves 10 minutes of their day, right? That's 10 minutes that they wouldn't have had before. Their average day is now better. Their average day is now, optimized, I guess, because they use this razor. The next is status. Status is really important. How does this person feel elevated after they consume your product or service? When we started selling certifications at Digital Marketer, you go through a course, you take a test, you get a badge, you get a certification, and being able to sell that status has been really incredible for someone to sit back and say, I am a certified content marketing specialist, right? Being able to really, again, get inside of this person's head and think, how can we elevate their status with our offer? The next is proof and results. This almost always works in marketing. Social proof, if you use this audit, you will generate, this audit has helped 10,000 other social media managers, right? You see that a lot. Proof, results, testimonials, those are always great hooks. And then the last is speed and automation. So how can you make something quicker or automate a process for someone? So again, these are just broad hooks that we like to teach to give you guys ideas on different ways to really sell a product or service. So you don't have to use all of these hooks in your grid. These are just ideas for you to use to get you started. So here are the hooks that we came up with for the 10-minute social media audit. So the first one is a little bit broader, but it's speed and results. So it's only 10 minutes. You notice we didn't call it the social media audit. It's the 10-minute social media audit, and you will generate more social engagement, more social traffic, and more social followers if you consume this lead magnet, right? So the first hook that we decided on was definitely speed and results. The next is what we call a get a grade hook, and this is where we started to get a little bit more creative. If you have something like an audit or a quiz, people love to self-analyze. Why does BuzzFeed have, which Disney character are you? Take this quiz. It's so silly, but it works because people want to learn about themselves. So the audit actually produces a grade. You get a grade out of 100. So that's a wonderful hook to use to say, hey, download this and actually audit yourself, right? Get a grade. We were taught through school that grades are important. So the next was create a report. So this was more of a have hook. So it's not just an audit, it's also a report that you can use in your business, right? It's not just a one-time thing. You could use this report over and over. The next was grade your competition. Everyone loves to spy on their competitors and see how they rank. So again, another way for us to sell this audit with a new hook. And then the last was know your goals. And this is more business oriented, but does your social strategy, does it actually align with your business goals? Are you like making money? Are you just posting stuff just to post? So that was the last hook that we decided on. Is this making sense to you guys? Cool. So you have the avatars now on the x-axis, and on your y-axis is where we place our hooks, right? Really, really simple. You don't have to have 4 avatars. You don't have to have 5 hooks. Make sure you have more than 2 of each, or you're kind of defeating the purpose. But come up with as many that make sense. And you'll start to realize that before, even in our marketing, we were speaking to one avatar with one hook, right? We were hanging out in that first box. So as we start to go through these steps, think about how this is really broadening and helping you create a fully fleshed marketing campaign. So step 3. This is all about messaging. So whether you're running Facebook ads, Twitter ads, you're sending emails, you have to have some sort of copy. You have to have some sort of messaging to speak to your audience. So step 3 really is sitting down and looking at every intersection, every open cell that we have here inside of the ad grid. And we're writing the copy so that it not only is using the hook on the y-axis, but so that it's also speaking to the particular avatar. This is going to allow you to write really segmented, specific copy. Because even if you're targeting these different avatars, but you're still using the same copy to speak to them, it can work, but it won't work as well as if you say, hey, social media manager, this is why this is relevant to you. And I'll show you an example of this here in a second. Here's the first bit.ly link. So this is to the spreadsheet, the Google Doc, bit.ly/500SU1. And I'll show you really fast. it's hard to pull up on the screen, but this is the grid that that we used for this 10-minute social audit, right? So you can actually feel free to hop in, read, see how the copy would maybe apply to your business. But I just sat down and I wrote each piece of copy so that it spoke to the particular hook and the particular avatar. So for example, with the get a grade hook, right? When we're speaking to the social media managers, we're saying, how do you score as a social media manager? Are you an A+ student? Use this 10-minute social media audit to actually grade your current social media efforts. Grade the profiles you manage and use your A+ as a way to ask your boss for a raise or promotion. If your score isn't up to par, use this audit as a way to reveal gaps in your social strategy that you can improve upon. Grade yourself here. But when we're using the get a grade hook to speak to the boss, right, the person that this social media manager reports to, we're speaking in a very different way. We say, want a way to grade and assess the performance of your social media manager? Use this 10-minute audit to give them a grade and track their performance over time. So what's really key here is that, again, you're writing copy in each cell that's not only using the hook, but that's speaking to the particular avatar. So that is step 3. So step 4 is where it gets really exciting. This is all about your avatar research. And this is a little bit more specific to buying traffic, especially on a platform like Facebook or Twitter. But now that we have these avatars, we know who these people are, we have to do research to figure out how we're going to target them. How are we going to find them? We have this beautifully written copy, this marketing campaign, but if we don't put it in front of the right person, it's going to fail. Targeting is very, very important. It's all about research. This takes the most time in the process for us. And I sit down with my laptop and a notebook and a notebook and a pen, and I start using Google. And I'm about to show you the process. It's not difficult, but you have to be willing to put the time into it. You also have to really think about specificity as when you're doing research to find your avatar. So we call this the "but no one else would" trick. And in the bottom left-hand corner, I just noticed there's a typo, sorry guys. But it says, a golf enthusiast would know who Bubba Watson is, but no one else would, right? So remove Bubba Watson, remove golf, and think a yoga enthusiast would know who or what blank is, but no one else would. That's really, really, really important when you're doing research on your avatars. And the reason that it's important is because of specificity. So I'm gonna use golf for an example. Say we're trying to sell golf clubs, right? We're inside the Facebook platform and we wanna target people that golf. But we wanna target people that golf enough and love golf enough that they actually buy products, right? We're getting really specific. People screw up because they get too broad. A lot of people would go into the platform and say, okay, I want to sell golf clubs. Of course, I'm gonna target Tiger Woods, right? He's the most famous golfer. And it just doesn't work. And the reason that it doesn't work, again, is that it's too broad. Tiger's an international celebrity. You know, my grandmother knows who Tiger is. He's in People magazine. He's so much bigger than just the market of people that actually golf. Does that make sense? Even if you move in a step here, Phil Mickelson, he's a golfer. I know who he is because I have watched the Masters with my dad, right? But that doesn't mean that I golf. He's better than Tiger, but he's still a little bit too well known to target him, especially on a social platform. If you move into the middle, Bubba Watson is more, and since we created this image, he's become a little bit more popular. But Bubba's that mid-level golfer that enough people know that he is an interest on Facebook or that people do follow him on Twitter, but he's specific enough that you really have to watch and keep up with Goff to know who he is. Does this make sense to you guys? So you're really trying to find interests, and I'll show you how to figure out what kinds of interests to target on a platform, but you really want to think about specificity. Who can I target that's specific enough that would only reach the avid part of this market? So here's a checklist. I'll give you a link to this too. We're really going to start at the targeting planning section on the left side. But when we go to do interest research on our avatars, these are the questions that we ask ourselves, right? This is what I'm Googling, and I'll show you the Google searches I use. But this is how I'm figuring out, these interests, right? So the first question we ask are, who are the authority figures, thought leaders, or big brands in your niche? So very similar to this, right? In golf, it's obviously famous golfers. In marketing, you're looking at people like Seth Godin, right? Like who are people following in this market to get their information? Also big brands and thought leaders. So that's the first question. Sit down, again, I'll show you the Google searches, but I'm starting to list everyone I can think about that this market would follow, right? That they would get their information from. The next is, what books, magazines, newspapers does your ideal customer read? If someone loves something enough to educate themselves or consume information about it, they're probably a good person to target. This one's pretty simple, but very, very effective. The next one, what events do they attend? This is very important. If someone loves something enough to actually show up in person to talk about it or experience it, they're a great person to target, right? You guys love your businesses enough to be here in person today, right? That's really, really powerful. You have to think about what an event means in your market, but almost every market has an event, right? Golf has golf tournaments, fishing has fishing tournaments, marketing, we call them conferences. But think about, what are the big events, physical meetups in my market? What websites do they frequent? So what blogs do they read? What forums are they using? That's pretty self-explanatory. The next one, where do they live? When you're buying traffic, you definitely don't want to buy traffic in countries or cities where you can't actually sell your product. The biggest thing on where do you live is, number one, don't ever make assumptions about where your market lives, or their age, or their gender, because you're probably wrong. Just to give you an example, we have a company called Survival Life. We sell prepper gear, so people that think the world's gonna end, credit card knives, bug out bags. It's pretty interesting. These people are down in their bunkers. But when we first started that company, we made the assumption that the people that would purchase the products were older white men living in the South, right? That was just the assumption that we made, and we always ran our marketing to those people. One day, set up Facebook ads really quickly, forgot to define the age and the gender and the location, other than the US, obviously. And guess what? Our lowest cost per acquisition was actually middle-aged women. You wouldn't have thought, but we were making the assumption. So let the data tell you what age and gender these people are. But with location, again, if you're a local business, you're obviously not going to run ads or do marketing in nationwide. So just think about that. The next, what tools do they use? Again, very important. If someone is doing something and using tools to do it, they're probably a great person to market. So this can mean different things. In golf, the tools are equipment. In marketing and social media, the tools are things like Hootsuite or different pieces of software that someone would use to actually do their job. And then lastly, again, what's specifically unique about this group? Just to go back to this slide, very, very important when you're figuring out your targeting. And there's a bit.ly link to that checklist if you guys are interested. bit.ly/500SU2. So as we go through these questions, basically what I'm doing is I'm doing Google searches to find the answers. Again, we don't want to assume, right? So for example, back to our 10-minute social audit, let's look at our social media manager avatar. Here are the Google searches that I would do to try to get the answers to my questions. So the first, top social media conferences, right? That's the event in social media. And if you Google, using that top is great, the keyword top, because you're gonna get lists. And that's wonderful, right? You want lists because you want to be able to just write as many of these down as possible. Top social media conferences, top social media books, top social media tools, top social media schools or courses, that's where they're getting their information. Top social media blogs, top social media magazines. So we're writing all of these down, and these are becoming the interests in Facebook, the handles in Twitter, the keywords in Google that we're targeting to find this person. Is this making sense? Cool. Just to give you another example, say you're more B2B and you're trying to target a dentist and you want to sell him some sort of equipment. This still works. How do we find this person? Top dental associations, right? Top dental conferences, top dental organizations, top dental schools. If they're a dentist, let's hope they all went to school. Top dental equipment manufacturers, that's the tool that they use to practice their trade. Top dental trade shows, again, an event in person, just a different use of the word to apply to this market. Top blogs for dentists, top magazines for dentists. So just to give you another example here. So you're going to repeat this process for each avatar. That's very important. Just to go back quickly here, we're doing this interest research in each column. Very, very important. We're not just doing social media. Where's the social media manager hanging out? Where's the boss hanging out? Where's the agency owner? Where's the solopreneur? Very, very separate. Not that you won't have overlap sometimes, that's okay, because your ad copy is written so specifically to that person that it will call them out anyways. It's okay if the boss sees an ad that was meant for the social media manager, because they wouldn't be interested because it says, do you manage social media accounts, right? They're either gonna think no, or they're gonna click and send it to their social media manager. So don't worry a ton about overlap, but as specific as you can get in your research for each avatar. Very, very important. Alrighty, so step 5. And this is really going to depend on what you're doing. If you're running Facebook ads, Twitter, YouTube, email, you're probably going to need some sort of creative. So you're gonna need an image, you're gonna need a video, and this is a really important part of the process. This is step 5. So on a very basic level, the way that we go about producing our creatives for a marketing campaign all goes back to the hooks, right? So I'm not gonna tell you how many creatives you need, how many images. We've gotten to the point where we test a lot, but at the very basic level, you wanna have at least one for each hook. Very, very important. And here's a document that we use. So we have in-house designers. I use the same document if I'm going in-house or if I'm going to outsource this, right? There's a company called Design Pickle. You guys might have heard of Design Pickle. It's a monthly, what am I trying to say? It's a monthly subscription, and you have a designer on call pretty much at all times. So you'll get your stuff back in like 1 to 5 days. It's really awesome. So if you're at a point where you don't have a designer, but you want someone that's consistently working with your brand, Design Pickle is great. Anyways, the way that we outsource our creatives, it really all goes back to a Google or a Word doc. And what I'm doing is I'm going through each hook right? And I'm thinking about what is the best way we can portray this marketing hook through a visual. Sometimes I'll just have an idea. Like you'll see that these, my wonderful drawing, I just sketched out, took a picture, popped it into the document. And I try to explain as much as possible. But a lot of times I don't have an idea. So what I'll do is I'll take the keywords out of that hook. So, for the 10-minute hook, I took, like 10-minute social media, right? And I'm Googling, hopping over to the images tab on Google and seeing what the first few images is. Because the beauty of Google is that it's showing you the image that people have clicked on the most in relation to that keyword, right? So again, not guessing. Let's see what, let's let Google tell us what images really portray this marketing message. So I'm creating this document, whether it's ideas we have from the team, from Google. You can see I simply took a screenshot of the first Google image I found. Of course, we're not gonna knock it off. I'm just saying, hey, use this for inspiration. We want something that looks this way. Maybe put like a clock in here since it's 10 minutes, right? Get really creative with these. Think about how someone could look at an image and already start to understand your marketing hook. So here are some examples, and I'll show you some more. These are the ones that we got back from Design Pickle. I thought they were great. The 10-minute hook, the first one we covered, very simple, right? Social media, 10-minute in the middle. Get a grade hook. It's a report card, right? It says social media, A+. Very simple, but a lot of people in their ads and their marketing are using stock images or some sort of image that has nothing to do with the marketing message. Create a report. So very similar to this one, but more so the act of handing the audit over as a report. Grade your competition. We got a little silly with this one, but I wanted to use the copy, how do you stack up? So we had stacks of pancakes at different levels. It's fun to throw in images like this into a campaign because you're going to appeal to kind of your funnier people, right? The Know Your Goals hook. This was the more serious business goals. So it's a guy climbing a mountain. What are your social media goals, right? So now you have an entire ad campaign or marketing campaign. You have all your copy, all of your images, all of your targeting. It's time to deploy, essentially. And I'll show you, this was how we deployed this particular ad grid. And you guys will have access to the slides, but this is the get a grade hook to social media managers. So you'll see the image, the copy that I read you earlier, kind of how it all comes together. This is the create a report hook to social media managers, right? Typo, this is the create a report hook to the boss. So you should receive a weekly report from your social media manager to ensure their social strategy is not only working, but actually improving over time. Send this 10-minute audit to your social manager today and ask them to report back weekly so that you can track their progress. Really simple, someone handing over a report. Here's the grade your competition hook to agencies. How does your business's social media score rank in comparison to your competitors? This one did really, really well. This is the Know Your Goals hook to solopreneurs. So are you hitting your social media goals? Is your social media strategy actually in line with the goals you set for your business, right? So again, now you have all the assets you need to set up and run a full ad or marketing campaign. What's key here and what I think might be interesting to you guys is I think this step-by-step can allow you to either think about how this could be an SOP in your business with your team or how you could outsource certain parts of it, right? So, outsourcing the creatives, outsourcing the avatar research, right? It's not only a way to create a full fleshed out campaign, these steps also allow you to really think about the process and sequence. What's really important, especially starting out, is that you should establish the avatars and hooks, right? So I still establish all of our avatars and hooks at Digital Marketer because I want to make sure that the marketing, the really core basis of this campaign is set up to succeed. And the good part is, although it takes thinking, that's really the least amount of work, right? You're not writing copy, you're not creating images. So you should definitely stay in that wheelhouse. So once you've run the campaign, the ad grid comes back into action, and you'll see the first Bitly link I gave you, the second tab, has a really fully fleshed out spreadsheet. Feel free to take it, use it, copy paste it, use the formulas. Our data guy did a great job. But the key here is, now that you've run the campaign, right? Say you're on Facebook, you've run this for 3 to 5 days is what we recommend before you start to look at your data. Now let's think about a success metric. What was your goal for this campaign? Were you trying to acquire customers, leads, just get some clicks? It really goes back to what's your one success metric for this particular campaign. You're gonna go back with a fresh ad grid and put those results back into the grid, right? So it doesn't just stop at launching the campaign. And what this allows you to do is you get a full visual of not only who is responding, but what messages they're responding to. And you'll see, so here's our report template. This is more of an overall analysis of the campaign. And again, you don't have to get this fully fleshed out, but you can see that we're actually able to go back and say, how much did we spend, how many clicks, how many opt-ins, which is someone giving us their email address, what's our cost per lead, what's our revenue, what's our ROI. So we're able to fill out this grid and get a really big picture of what succeeded. And that really leads to step 7, and that's scaling an ad campaign, right, or a marketing campaign. So now you have the insight into who's interested and what message they're really interested in, right? What hook really got them. So you can scale not only from an avatar standpoint, right? So the social media managers, for example, with this campaign really responded. It performed very well. So then we start to think, okay, what are other ad platforms that we can, that this person's hanging out on, where we can find them? What are other interests we can target? We can create lookalike audiences in Facebook, right? There's so much you can do with scale, but we're scaling the right stuff. We're not scaling crap that didn't work because we couldn't really see what worked, right? It's also great because now for this particular offer, we know moving forward, if we create another ad campaign, if we want to send emails, whenever we speak about this product, service, offer again, we know what hook to use to really make sure that we're getting people interested. So which avatar hook matches are the winner, scale those. So really thinking back to the grid, it not only allows you to scale past doing more with what you have. I have this marketing campaign, it's working, I'm gonna add $50 and I should get more results, right? It allows you to really dive in and see what's working and to scale and trim the fat. And then again, thinking about this as a process, how does this apply to your business? Are you going to do all 7 steps? That's okay. But who's on your team that could help with step 4 and 5? How can you outsource part of this process? It's allowed us to create marketing campaigns really, really quickly because everyone's on the same page. So just to recap, first step, identify your avatar. Second, identify your hooks. Third, write your segmented copy. Fourth, avatar research. 5, create or outsource your ad creatives. 6, compile your results. And 7 is to scale. And if you want a more written out version of this, a blog post on our website, bit.ly/500SU3. It's pretty much this presentation in written form. But that's it. Oh, Q&A. Well, thanks guys. Awesome. So Grant says, how many campaigns for different avatar hook combination should you do at a time? It really depends on the traffic platform and how you've structured the campaigns. But essentially, if we're speaking Facebook ads, for example, we will create a different campaign for each avatar, right? So we would have 4 campaigns. This is getting, anyways, we would have 4 campaigns. Inside each avatar, you have ad sets, which is where you define your targeting and your budget. So that's where we're testing the hooks against the audiences. So it's really best to divvy out your campaigns based on the avatar so that it does have breathing room for testing inside of the platform. Cool. Anyone else have questions? Yeah.
Just got a question. From the point of view of a startup, I think we discussed it yesterday. Obviously, if you've got a 5x5 matrix, that means lots of ads, potentially quite a lot of cost for each of them. So what's your view on the sort of, capital that you need to kind of test out this?
Yeah, I mean, the beauty. Oh, right. So he basically asked how much you have to spend to actually deploy this, because you guys are startups, and that's a great question. And the beauty of platforms like Facebook and Twitter and YouTube is that you can start for as little as $5 a day, right? So even with all of these variations, if each ad you're spending $5, I mean, you could deploy this for $50 a day, $100 a day, and really get back some good data. So, and I really encourage you not only to do this to sell your product or service, but also do this so that you can acquire that data. It's very important, because spend $300 over 3 days and go back, and you're gonna see, who clicked, their gender, their age, what time. I mean, there's so much information there that's great for you to have moving forward with your marketing. Someone says, how long would you recommend running a campaign for to get enough data? We recommend 3 to 5 days, 7 if you can. At what point have you saturated an avatar or a campaign? It really depends on the platform. Effective frequency is about 7. So that frequency is a metric that you can see within most ad platforms. You don't really want to show someone an ad more than 7 times. There are a lot of ways, a lot of metrics to use to see if you've saturated a market, or if you've fatigued a campaign or saturated a market. We have a podcast called Perpetual Traffic. It's all about running traffic. I think episode 40 was about this exactly. If you guys are interested, check that out in iTunes. But you're definitely looking at frequency. Of course, if your revenue starts to decrease, you don't want to lose money. There are a lot of metrics you can look at for that. I hear Twitter ads suck. When are they good, if at all? For what kinds of product, service, target market? Yeah, Twitter ads are best for distributing content. So if you hop around the Digital Marketer blog or check out our paid traffic certification, I really teach a system where you go into a market with something of value first. So a blog post, something free, so that you're not like, hey, buy, you don't know who I am, but you should buy my product, right? That just doesn't work anymore. So we like to distribute content first, like a really good blog post, so that we can pixel people and retarget them. Twitter is a great use for distributing pieces of content, because people are in that mode on Twitter, right? They're clicking links, they're consuming information. So Twitter isn't wonderful for direct response, selling products, because that's not what people are used to in the platform. But if you go in there and you're running a native ad, you look like everything else, it can be very effective, and you can target by handle, which is very great, going back to the checklist we just talked about. Do you have a question? Oh, it's on there, perfect. In regards to social media reporting, what tools do you recommend for weekly reporting? So we do most of our reporting bigger picture, so we are looking at social metrics, but we use a company called Wicked Reports. They're out of Boston, and It's really cool. You can tie revenue back to a tweet from like 2014. It's incredible, right? Like lifetime value, any metric that you want. So that's what we use for that. Can avatars be broader, such as agencies, resellers, direct brands to measure revenue channels, or would you make 3 separate metrics? Yeah, that would be fine, especially to start. Again, the avatars, getting as segmented as you can is really where the power comes from, right? But if you do want to do something broader, it can work. But again, it's just really not using your business, your broad business avatars for a grid. Each of those need to have their own grid for this to really work. Cool. All right, guys, thank you so much.